And on camera, we're going to have the Ginger Archer today. We've got LWUB versus Kinkais. And before we get in game, let's look at the standings and let's look at what we got going on because Kinkais, Matt, they're fighting in the middle of the pack while LWUB, they're sitting a bit comfortable right now.
Yeah, still, it's only most people having played two sets, so there's only three possible positions you can be in right now. You've either won both, you're half and half, or you've lost both. We've got LWUB, who is part of the top of that pack, and Kinkais, who are in the middle right now. So both teams have a win on their belt. So hopefully this will be quite a competitive edge we're going to see in this set today.
I think that's going to be the big thing to look at in the rosters. I already see some interesting stuff going on because last week I cast a Kinkais game and I saw Apple Toast on the other side now on LWUB. So bit of tea there.
Yeah, I'm assuming then there must have been some sort of I don't even know what the word is called. What is it called when the
transaction? A transaction.
That's it. That I was thinking about. Yeah, but these are the rosters we've got going on with us right now, and picks and bans have started. And I'm going to be honest, people expect me to do a good job here in Share 2. It's been one day of the patch. I did do some of the PTS. A lot of this is going to be me judging and seeing what these people are concocting with, because it's going to be interesting to see what these teams have made, what plans they've made for themselves with this new meta, and how they've adjusted for it.
Yeah, that is a challenge. You have a tough job today, but I think we're gonna climb our way through it because it is tough, and a lot of it is exploration, figuring out what you want to do in the new meta, figuring out. We were talking about it a bit off there, figuring out what you want to do for builds in the ADC realm, figuring out the order of things, and then that's not even talking about the state tanks are in, who you could see in the jungle.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion it is not a tank meta, it is not a full-blown tank meta. It is just possible to go an extra tanky item or two, whereas before you couldn't in roles such as the jungle. So, yeah, I don't think it's full-blown. Support and solos are running wild. I think it's more jungles can make use of tanky items, and you can have a bit more, what's the word? A bit more flavor in the solo role with what can work there and what can't work there.
Right. That's always the tough part about the tank meta is that, I mean, there's all the parts everybody knows about the tank metas that are prevalent, but no matter how far back you go, every time there is a tank meta, whether you can throw, it could be a void shield from one of the early seasons on a assassin, or it can be a stone of binding, and they all give the same kind of grief.
Yeah, I mean, we see quite a few jungle options already banned out here for Susano, the Serket, the Loki, and the Mana also works in the jungle, so already nice to see a priority there, and it was finished off Marty and the Ymir, but guess who was top ADC in last patch and continues to do so? Patchy Man, still quite strong. I think he did receive a bit of a nerf if I remember correctly, but honestly there were so many nerfs and changes in the last patch, it all sort of gets lost in the sea.
Yeah,
so
it wasn't anything massive. It was kind of, I would say, borderline necessary. It was to his eagle eye, just a scaling and power decrease. It's nothing too major to write home about. But again, like you said, getting the Hachiman in first is big. And the response, speaking of things we talked about off air, an Achilles lock-in with the Thor.
Yeah, so we are expecting to see some tanky jungles here, and both of those picks work in jungle / solo. We could have the 4 solo Achilles jungle or the Achilles solo 4 jungle, both of which can build tanky quite easily, both of which can dive into power a bit more easily. So I think they're two strong picks. I do still like the Baba Yaga. Prophetic Cloak is still good on her when stacking up mid. She was already taking advantage of the sort of tank meta that was forming up last patch, and so I think she slides in easily here. And it is going to also be the Thanatos as well.
And with the Thanatos lock-in, I do want to give one note here for the rosters. Zoriat will be out, and Glig will be subbing in, so we'll have to see what role Glig steps into and how that affects LWUB here. And the last second sub is never ideal, but
it's good he was
will vanquish all evil from this world.
They had a reserve. And it is going to be a Yu Huang pickup as well. I have not seen... Yu Huang has popped up here and there. I'll be honest, I've never been a massive Yu Hong fan. That's not me saying he does no damage. He definitely does damage. He can definitely turn a team fight if he holds his place good. So I'm keen to see how he does, especially against such tanky targets, because he does have a good escapability, but it is just the one escapability, and then once that is gone, you're gonna have an Achilles all fall in your face. Whereas the Baba Yaga, the house offers, I think, a little bit more protection in those moments.
And I like Blast Off a bit more than, to your point, I like Celestial Flight. I feel like you said, without Celestial Flight, Yu Wong feels almost like a worse Agni when that ability's on cooldown.
Yeah.
While Baba Yaga, if Blast Off is on cooldown, it still kind of feels like you're a little bit more free to go crazy because you have Home Sweet Home.
Yeah, and the Baba Yaga also has access to Prophetic Cloak, which is going to help in that.
I have a plan.
The final bans are the Zonqui, the Tyr, the X-Bowl, and the Varma. So LWUB being like, okay, we need to focus on these hunters now because we want to make this Hatsu, who already has a good pick, probably have an easier, better time with their preferred matchup. Meanwhile, Tyr and Zonqui, both good solos at the moment, very good at displacement. And when you have a Thanatos that is can be a killer, but also quite easily displaced depending on his positioning, I think Tyr is a good pick to ban out.
I like it. It's only hovered so far, but I really like this Bacchus. I hope it does get locked in. I feel like Bacchus offers a lot of counter initiate for LWUB here, because if Kinkai's goes crazy on the initiate, Bacchus can actually respond pretty well. Where normally we're used to seeing Bacchus belly flop in, get the belch off. I kind of like it the opposite this way. If somebody goes too crazy, drop an Intoxicate.
Our deeds shall be written in legend.
I also like the Bacchus because all the picks before that were showing a bit of a CC drought. You don't have a lot of hard CC options that their first round of picks had. So the Bacchus having both the knock up, the stun, and the tremble does give, I think, a very good balance to that. Guan Yu does have the hard CC on the stun, but overall, I think if they didn't have such a hard CC support, I think LWUB would have had a severe weakness on So here. So I do like that pickup. Horus, once again, probably going to go support, probably might also be able to build up this Glacial and such and be a bit more of a bruiser.
They will
support,
all obey their goddess.
And it is going to be an Istar picked up finally. I've not seen Istar for quite a while, ever since the nerf to their damage on their sort of, and kind of was cool by the sort of globe shot there, 1-1, so to speak. Their clear just became really more difficult and could not compete with the likes of Cernus and Hatsuman. So keen to see Istar being picked up here, and yeah, looking forward to see how these drafts work out. It is a 4 physical comp for the Kinkai, so I'm hoping to see a sovereignty or two on the LWUB side.
Last week, I watched Kinkai's. I cast Kinsai's versus Persephonic, and two things are already similar. They ran for a physical, and the opposing team, Persephonic, did not build a sovereignty, and they really needed to, and they ended up losing that game. And Tatri was on Ishtar, and Tatri went crazy on the Ishtar, and that was against, I believe it was against the Hachiman before nerfs, so definitely worth keeping an eye on there. There was one thing we didn't touch on, I gotta poke your brain on, because you're more familiar with the league as well as the players themselves. Was that Loki? That Loki's a target ban, correct?
It was target ban. I have casted a game where it was target ban before, but that wasn't an LW game. It was target ban against. I don't think Loki is a strong meta pick at the moment. Loki, because of how his kit has been since the rework, isn't really a good jungler per se. So I as a rule of thumb, whenever I see a Loki ban, it's always some sort of target ban. And to be fair, having played against Garrett like a year ago in a different league, I've seen him on Loki before, so I agree. Probably good to ban him out.
For sure, definitely the right choice. But as you can see, we're in game. We've got a while until the buff spawn, so we can keep on digging away at what these teams could be cooking up. But once again, my name is Anthony Mellum. I'm joined today by Matt Block. Running the cameras will be the Ginger Archer. We have LWUB versus Kinkais. Should be an exciting game, best of 3. Let's do it.
Yeah, and already a sort of difference in builds I want to sort of talk on is this difference in ADC builds. We have Hachigo and the Hunter Karen's Devo is a sort of staple build we had in 10.5. But over here on the Istar, we have the Death's Toll trying to get that mana and health sustain. And then we also don't have a stacking item going for what I assume is probably going to be an Executioner or an Assy. I really doubt we're going to see a kin size bought first item. So already quite a difference in build here. Start trying to get that power spike a bit earlier than the Hatsi, probably just so they can have an easier time beating up in lane.
That's a good call, and you mentioned what the strike is going to bring to lane for Ishtar. So the pressure should certainly be favoring Kinkais unless LWUB play this absolutely perfectly, which, you know, that's always that's a tall task to do against an Ishtar. When you add the Horus in, this lane's going to be dangerous.
Indeed, and already different, and also there's a difference in the support items. We have Download going towards the Spirit, the sort of War Flag, which is much more of a sort of aggressive support item, probably trying to match up Ishtar's aim of an early spike, and also going for tier 1, what I assume is going to be a Manticore built up here, helping increase that damage and going more Bruiser, as I sort of stated beforehand.
That's going to be important across both teams. I'm expecting a lot out of the Thanatos, and that's something I'm going to be watching the entire time because you got to make the most of Thanatos early. It's actually could make the most out of an Horus early. Already knocked up. The Belch going to get the stun. Shell is forced, but Hachiman not quite able to clean it up yet. And Horus will get away safely behind the Bastions. Bit dangerous there. We talked about Kinkais having the pressure, but LWUB really pushing it on. Oh, they go back in. Belch again. Kinkai's still not in danger zone, but again, that surprises me.
Two of the most aggressive supports in the game in the early levels are the Bacchus and the Horus. Horus, if you get the combo, that's a lot of damage. Bacchus just has a lot of good CC early on. A knock-up most always got on like level 2 is just going to do wonders for your team, especially when you have a Hisstar and a Horus that can't so easily escape it. So I think it's more which support can utilize it better, which one has the better mechanical skill in this early phase, and as we can see, LWUB have been able to use that properly.
I love the pressure here from Kinkai. Thor's been lurking for a long time, but they've got to make something happen out of it to make it worth it. Thor walks in, starts with Berserker. Santos goes in the back and is easily looking for the Ishtar, but LWUB can't step up to help, and now Thanatos is poked out, so LWUB maybe not having the same target selection there could have been the main problem, and nobody will get anything off of the early gank from the junglers.
Yeah, also because of the 10.6 changes, I believe health went up, power went down. It's going to be, I think, a bit more difficult to get these early kills. I do love the attempt. I think that if there was it was not the Fana's fault, but like if the Fana was there earlier, then there probably could have been a bit more of a group up and more done because of it. So I think it was a good attempt by both sides, but unfortunately, just can't really have that follow through at the moment. You need to finish that first item.
That's a good point, and I just mentioned too that the Thanatos being so early would be a key thing. Something we haven't talked about yet is there's a bit of a ticking time bomb in the mid lane. The Stygian Beacon doesn't spawn until about 10 minutes. It's kind of still this unknown thing, and nobody has fully locked down the idea of how much value's there. How many do you rotate? You need 3 for the Titans, but the buff is certainly good. Are you expecting these teams to have some rotations come out at 10 minutes to start to contest for it?
I think at the very least, the support and mid should be fighting over this. I don't think, especially early, I think later on, it's okay to give it up. If you know, like, if you're about even and it's like 20 minutes in and it's the final one, you can give it up. But when it's the first one, I think you want to get off to a good start, especially when the difference hasn't been shown yet. But we do have that first blood.
There's the good start you wanted. Storming Shadows will find the first blood for LWUB. It took a while, but the pressure finally paid off for the blue side of things. Kinkai is just a bit unlucky there.
Yeah, unfortunately, the CC from the Bacchus was able to follow through and get that first kill. We do also see our first look at the Soul Surge as well, which, you know, it's now probably, I think, a 90-second time until the next one can spawn. Any further deaths inside of it causes it to grow. Everyone in it, I think, moves faster as well. It does spawn sort of spirits in the center, which you can farm. Now, even though LWUB got the kill, the farm went towards the Kinkai, so it kind of evens out a bit. Gives the Ishtar some solo farm, but we do see a bit more of a fight going on solo.
Cavalry charge going to be forced out from Glig. Had to play it safe, have to respect the execute. coming out of Zenico on that Achilles could have been really dangerous there.
Yeah, especially with Achilles getting that recent buff where his execution threshold has been increased to 35%. A lot more easier to get these kills now in solo lane as an Achilles to get these executes. So I appreciate Glig doing his best to not step forward when he's on such low health. He can't really risk it.
Not going to be worth it in that case. And you're actually back to
There's
solo.
a gank in solo lane.
Thanatos showed up to respond to that pressure, but Zenico really wasn't that low, and we talked about Glig can't step up, and now Thanatos is also in execute range, is forced to use Hovering Death to get away. So a pretty big misplay there from LWUB, not really respecting the execute and how quickly it could show up for the Thana, and the fact that Guan was already there.
Yeah, unfortunately, because of that execution threshold, they can't really step up for 2v1 because one wrong movement by Glig and he would have been executed and given the Achilles massive damage boost. But we do see a 4-dunk over here.
House is forced, but Thor's going to find the kill onto the Baba Yaga despite the best efforts. So the scoreboard's evening up quickly, 1-1. Gold, not much to speak of for 6 minutes. Surprisingly a calm game considering I feel like we've seen the map presence from the junglers be immense, but not really much to come from it.
Yeah, I mean both junglers want to get that early start. Vanna more so than the 4, but I think there's still the sense of jungle runs the pace of this game. Following on from 10.5, you want your jungle to have a good start because that will dictate your pressure throughout the rest of the game. So I think it's good now because we're really starting to see this sort of level 2 gap in jungle right now. That's going to be massive, especially because the fan is going to mean even more struggle to get his ult ranked up so he can get these easy executions.
That's a really good point. I didn't even think about it because maybe this is the dumb American meta mind in me, but going off the slower EU metas that everybody talks about, I guess that would make sense, kind of buying your time a bit, getting the full threshold online, and trying to make a big difference with that. We're getting closer and closer to 10 minutes, and we see posturing mid, but things have calmed. The question is, how long will they stay calm?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the difference in support builds are going to sort of dictate the pace at the moment. Horus having that Manticore first means he's still got a decent amount of tankiness, but he's also going to be able to do a lot of follow-up damage. But we see do a dunk right here.
Thanatos land on top of the Thor, but Yuwang will find one. Baba gets a response. It's going to be a double kill for Brett on the Yuwang, just going nuts on it. A fight that kind of came out of nowhere that was forced by LWUB turns better for Kinkai's.
Well, I think they realised the 4 was out of position, was pushing up heavy, and they were probably hoping to kill him quickly and then disengage, but unfortunately that was not possible. Ooh, and that was another kill there for Hachiman on the LWUB side.
The Storming Shadow solo kill onto Tatri. I mentioned that the Ishtar run by Tatri last week was pretty nasty, but so far, Storming Shadow is making the most out of the Hachiman despite the slight nerfs to Eagle Eye, still playing around it. That having your Hachiman get ahead that much, that's huge for LWUB. I think that could create a lot of potential for them as we get a bit later into the mid area of this game.
Especially since Tatsu was sort of, I guess, betting on this early game sort of spike with the early Assais, and so that just gives more time for Hatsi to farm. Does seem to be going for the similar build to last season, going to dominance next, I'd assume. Meanwhile, Tatsu is going to try and experiment and see. We'll see what sort of concoctions his mind has made later. Another thing I want to point out, as we said, sort of Kinkai's have gone for a 4 physical team, and I am still not seeing a Sol. I actually see a Sekhmet Scepter on Glig, and I'm seeing Gauntlet Thieves into what I'm assuming is going to be a Stone of Binding on the Bacchus. So a sort of lack of focus on this physical protection Aura. I'd hope I would have seen that more, but they're still going to be tanky. Another thing I want to see is this sort of mystical mail. Is that mystical mail on the Achilles? I think that is. Have not.
Yeah, it
has not seen that item for a while. I mean, it stops the blinks, and I feel like the blinks are going to be an important engage for LWUB.
That's a good
so
call.
I think adding a annoyance to that is going to be a bit more annoying.
Yeah, that's definitely a good call from you.
to correct myself, that's Caduceus Club, not Segment Scepter. I get the icons confused sometimes. I do apologise. Both of those items are rarely built. That's why I struggle to tell. But we do see a bit of a grouping now on this Stygian area.
It's not quite spawned, but that's not going to stop Kinkais from getting aggressive. The Thor landed down looking for the house, but house turned and blew up the Thor. Thanatos landed onto the backline, but couldn't find kills off of it, so the better of that engagement will still land with LWUB as they prepare to set up for that Stygian beacon.
Yeah, it is a good engage there. Once again, Force stepping a bit too far, giving Thanatos the time to equal up in level and start hitting as hard as he can do. We also see Force starting to go into what I'm assuming is going to be a reinforced hammer. We get to see that Glyph Action. That's going to be a lot of damage coming out of the 4 in addition to the tankiness from it. Meanwhile, Thanos seems to still be focusing on this power. So in this early spike, in this sort of mid game now, we should be seeing Thanos perform a bit more better because of that extra power. But when it gets to late game, the 4 will equalize with the 4's tankiness.
I think a big thing with the Thanatos being able to respond to the Thor, we've already seen a lot of, and that's the response with hovering death into the Anvil of Dawn, making sure if Thor slams down, Garrett's trying really hard to respond by slamming back down and make sure that the Sky advantage always belongs to LWUB. 2-man knock-up in the mid lane, but there's not a lot of follow-up quite yet, but the mid lane fights keep coming out of nowhere, so it's kind of hard to gauge it correctly consistently, because the way they've been fighting around mid, both teams want to get the advantage to set up for Stygian, but neither have fully committed yet.
Yeah, and we do see, as I was sort of hoping to see, but we see a stacking build coming out of the Baba Yaga here with the Tablet of Destiny and Book of Thebes. Tablet of Destiny is not going to get stacked by the Baba Yaga passive because it doesn't evolve. Book of Thoth, however, will, and because of the recent power item changes, it'll be interesting to see. The Book of Thoth power spike is actually proportionally better than where it was last season, so I'm keen to see how that's going to work out.
The Stygian beacon's now available to be captured, and Kinkais was waiting inside the pit. So far, they have the advantage, but LWUB is hanging out. They've got everybody here for it to make sure they can secure it. LWUB going to do their best to respond, but ultimately, Kinkais will get the Stygian beacon out from underneath LWUB. They might look to take the fight after. They got the advantage now, and Bacchus already low. Glig is in execute, but the wall stopped it. The wall stopped it for a short period of time. Tatri found one. Forrest got the other. Kinkais getting the much better of this fight onto LWUB. They just are too late to respond. They're going to lose another to it. Kinkais dominate the fight in the mid lane.
And this is a 5-man group, and they can easily get Fury off of the back of it and just continue on this sort of wave of pressure they've gotten. As I said earlier, the first one, you're probably going to want it, and Kinkais really want it badly. And unfortunately, the Thanos, I think, missed the hovering death at the end, so was not able to get the damage follow-up. The Baba Yaga was sort of pushed away early, so they couldn't really follow up. That's their main AoE damager. So I think just very good team play there by the Kinkais. They've got their first Stygian buff, meaning only 1% movement speed to the Chaos side and 5% extra damage for their structures and lane pushers. So not too bad, but if they're able to get the second and even the third one, that definitely adds up and helps sort of not steamroll, but helps push their lead even further.
And there's also something to be said for the recovery period of the fight for LWUB afterwards. They lost a lot in that, and Kinkais really dominated it. So they're able to really set up for the objectives to follow, which, considering what that could do for your macro, I mean, we're 13 minutes in. The charts are sprinting to the red side. 4-6, Kinkais feel like they have the upper hand, and it feels like they wrestled it. Because the very beginning, it felt like LWUB was off to a great start.
Yeah, but as Stygian Torment gives, I think, golden XP on capture, Gold of Fury is good. We do see on those graphs it was ticking upwards, and Hansek, as Protection pointed just now, I thought they were going for Reinforce, but it actually seems to be going for Dawnbringer, which I believe gives... I can't remember fully what it does. It's something after ulting, yeah, you get movement, speed, and protection. So it does help in that tankiness, and 4 is going to be starting off these team fights with a Duncan, so I think it is still a good item to have. But Yeah, so just a difference there I've noticed now. Hatsy build's still going the same way as it was last patch. It is a kin size as well for Tatsui going into I assume an execution now as well. Meanwhile, still not a lot. Well, no Hazek prophetic cloak rebuilt on Baba Yaga. Glad to see that. That's good. Hopefully, it does get stacked by the sort of key point of this mid to late game.
That's going to be massive, and the Bob is going to be unkillable. Thanatos with Blink and into Duo, excuse me. But Tatri was able to respond with Jolt for safety. We're going to see to the skies from Horus to bring Thor over. Thanatos, like we talked about, responds, goes to the sky. This has made a lot of time for LWUB to pull the Pyromancer on the right side of the map, however. Looks like they're going to get this for free, too.
Thanatos goes towards Duo, walks over Kinkai's ward, alerts them to his presence, so he has to go away, and then the rest of the team, oh, this fan is out of position, let's all group up and collapse on him. Fortunately, Hovering Death is available, so he can get out, and that means to the rest of the LWs, oh, they're all over there trying to kill the unkillable Thana. Let's get Pyro, which is a very good call, and I'm happy to see it. Meanwhile, a bit more of a skirmish now happening around the mid lane.
It looked like LWUB wanted to get crazy. The Thanatos was walking to the back aggressive, but really just trying to find an opening. The big story is underneath the tower, Blastoff used to survive from Achilles, who had that execute online. It's going to work for the time being. LWUB, not in the best spot, but Kinkai's just not able to take advantage of any of the openings they created in that fight.
Unfortunately for Achilles and Horus are fairly tanky at the moment with a lot of health, so it's not going to be easy to kill them if they do overextend, especially in that sort of 3v3 fight. But it is starting to even up now, I think, with that Pyromancer play. Yeah, Kinkai's still ahead with about 2k gold, or about 1k. But yeah, I'm using this game as a dictation of what builds are people going, because everyone here is building drastically different builds to their sort of opponent across the map.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It kind of makes it hard to judge whether it's better or not, but it's just like I'm all for it. I love seeing the variety being built here.
I think the variety speaks volumes to the shell shock of this particular season and what it brought for everybody. And I think the later we get, we're also going to see in how they play. You talked to me about this a bit before we got into game. As we get to that second and that third Stygian Beacon, as the Titans get unleashed, I think that's when the new meta will fully show its head, and really we're going to see exactly the difference of Season of Souls.
Yeah, when the Unleashed Titans happen, which of course is after the first Stygian Torment has been claimed, it's going to be, okay, which team has the better attackers and defenders on sieges? And comparing the two teams, I think it does go towards Kinkai's. I think the Yuhuang offers better clear and is able to sort of tank the sort of harass the people seizing their structures. But yeah, it's going to be keen to see, but we do see a big old grouping now happening around this mid lane.
Thanatos got some good poke on Tatri, who has to back up from the fight. We saw this last time from Kinkai's. We see it from both. 5-on-5 for the Stygian Beacon, as it's just now available to capture. Garrett's forced into the air. The Stygian Beacon so far leaning blue. Kinkai's just trying to force their way in response, but their health bars just drop lower as time goes on, and Garrett's healing up, and Garrett has been a big problem. New problem, it's Bacchus and Baba Yaga. Baba gets the kill on Tatri. And now LWUB's looking great. Thor goes in the back looking for a response, but all he finds is open air and lots of damage. Achilles hits the fatal strike onto Garrett, getting the Thanatos out of the fight, making sure there's no longer an issue from the Thana. It's so close consistently. LWUB just can't quite take advantage despite all the damage they've done. Kinkai's really should have been dead 3 times over, but the way they stood around their tower just left them safe.
Yeah, they don't have really the opportunity to put on a tower, and for dunking in was able to help Sis get a kill, but it just forced the LWs to sort of separate. And yeah, they were not able to really focus as one. They weren't able to synergize, but it does mean they do have I was expecting, because they got the space, they would try and take the Stygian Torment, but instead they seem to be prioritizing Uni Fury, which I do think is the better call to make. I just think it's a lot more telegraphed as to what you're doing. But it does not seem to be that King Kai's will opt in to sort of Stone Face. Instead, they're going to go for the Pyromancer, want to get a Pyro Bomb of their own, just to make their own Phoenix attackers even better.
Yeah, that's a safe call here, and I do like the way that both teams have clearly made. There doesn't seem like they're split calls. The story of week ones, you're getting synergy, you're figuring things out, you're cleaning up your rosters. The story of week two is sort of the, all right, we're in it now. How do we get comfortable? You're figuring out the shot callers. You're figuring out who's making the plays. You're game planning more than you could have week one. And I feel like both teams are showing that, if nothing else, their decision making and their play calling is synchronized.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Like, we're now getting into the thick of it, so showing that your team has come together is really important, both as an aid to your own mental, but also to sort of intimidate your opponent, saying, yeah, we've got our sense together, do you? So I completely agree with what you said there. I'm now just sort of reviewing these teams at the moment. I'm just wondering, has the Fana had the impact early that a Thanatos would get? 0-3 and 3. They have gotten some assists, but I think it's fair to say, I might be eating my own words now.
Is it a caster's curse? The Aegis on the execute, but it's just a matter of time. Storming Shadows gets the credit. So a small caster's curse there, but I think your overarching point is more than accurate. That the Thanatos, the story of every Thanatos is you got to make it happen early, and we have not fully seen that from Garrett. It's not a full disrespect thing. He's definitely tried to make the opportunities. The Kinkai's response has just been clean.
I think what's also spotted there was when he started getting early, there's been wards up. In that fight there, he did not walk over any of the wards. Istar was pushed all the way up to their enemy tower. They didn't really have an escape out of that. So I think it's more not to take it away from Garrett, but I think it's more of a he didn't get spotted out early, so was able to actually get close, whereas that opportunity has not been given to him for the early game. But yeah, I mean, he's still on level, but I think it's just, once again, we're going to be seeing this foregoing tanky with probably now Stone of Binding. So damage, they're going to need a lot of damage and pen to shred through these tanks. Prophetic Cloak now built as well on the Baba Yaga. That's starting to get
we were looking for that.
Stacked up. Yep, no, I'm happy to see that. That's to give this Baba Yaga much needed survivability. You'll see a Relic Dagger built on the Bacchus. Hoping we're going to see one of the new glyphs. It's probably going. I don't know what the other one's called. It's not Bewitched, aka Witch Dagger 2.0. It's not going to be that one because there's not really enough. Eldritch, thank you, Production. Eldritch Dagger is the other relic glyph. Relic Dagger glyph. God, that's weird. So I'm hoping to see the Eldritch one, which is, I think, upon using a relic, you see wards and you reduce enemy protections, I want to say, if I remember correctly. So I'm hoping we get to see these new glyphs, such as the one on the Relic Dagger. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see Rune Forged, but, well, in this game at least, hopefully we get to see it at some point later on.
I wouldn't really hate a Bewitched too much. I would like it more for Kinkais than I would for LWUB. I feel like it never hurts to slow down a Thanatos, but the Hachiman here, especially with the attack speed stim that he gets, I think is a decent target for it. But overall, I agree. The Eldritch upgrade is certainly the most interesting. We're 23 minutes in, knocking at the door 24, and the game is still shockingly close. It feels like every time I talk about the leads, it's barely grown, and if it has, it's really not anything macro. It's more micro. Garrett very caught out, but barely gets away. Just barely. If there was a Thanatos on the other team, they'd be hearing the heartbeat, but Garrett gets away safely. Does create a Gold Fury opportunity for Kinkais, and they are not waiting. They're going to get it, and they're going to get it quick.
Yeah. Both of these teams, what they've done perfectly is they've recognized when they have the opportunity to go for an objective, and they've taken it. I would have liked a bit more sort of face off because both teams I think are aware of the objectives. They're just choosing not to step up. So I respect both these teams for being quick on their objectives. We do see the final Stygian beacon spawning up now. This will push us into the Unleashed Titan stage. Both teams are pretty equal, so I don't think we're going to see an end off of this unless they get like a massive team fight beforehand, which does seem to be the case.
Download later has already been poked out of the fight. Pink Unicorn goes in the sky looking for a target. That target was Garrett. He lands down, should find it. Does find it thanks to Hydras, but Glig cleans him up right after. So now 2 members poked out and 1 member gone. And Storming Shadows finds the Achilles. LWUB taking the fight quick. The only person poked out is Glig. He's going to go ahead and back as LWUB continues to push Kinkais out of mid lane. The Stygian Beacon should be open for the taking now for LWUB, and they will do just that. That was probably the best fight we've seen in mid lane.
Yep, indeed. The Orders captured their second Stygian Torment beacon, the final one, Unleashed Titans. The healthiest lane is the solo side, so going to be about 30 seconds, I think, before the Titans spawn in. But it's going to be keen to see here. Everyone will be back up. I'm keen to see whether they're going to do a whole 5v5 face-off here. We'll be keen to see. Or whether they're going to try and utilize this as a split push. Because it is in solo side, we're not going to have that sort of interesting dynamic of... Because let's say your Unleashed Titan was in duo, but Fire Giant is up. Where do you go? If all the team goes to one, does that mean the enemy team is going to go to the other? Like, it's an interesting dynamic. In that situation, I do think you prioritize the Fire Giant. You can get the Fire Giant and then go back to kill the Titan before they get to Phoenix. But... yeah, so because it's on solo side, I think we are just going to be seeing this sort of the Titan push up as a whole team here, apart from maybe the junglers going off to farm or yeah. So keen to see.
I think it's going to be really important. It looks like LWUB is going to go for the everybody rotate and push it out approach, which means Kinkais has no choice but to respond unless they go for a split push, but they're going to go for a response. So like you said, it was potential, now it's becoming reality. It looks like we might have a 5v5, if not a 5v4 for the time being, as the Titans will meet in solo. It's never gonna be easy getting used to seeing this.
LWUB also have 2 of the Stygian Torment beacon buffs, so their Titan does an extra 10% damage, meanwhile the Chaos Titan only does an extra 5% damage. So they do win out that fight, but I don't think they're gonna try and push up forward. It's like I said, both teams are really even. You just had a big fight there. Relics and ults are only just coming back up. And also, you don't want to use all your resources in this lane and then immediately you have to go to Fire Giant because you've used all your stuff. And the enemy team is just like, okay, we're going to force you out of Fire Giant then. So I do agree with the call of show face, but ultimately don't go too hard.
Felt like the Titans died really fast, almost faster than both of these teams expected. So now they're both trying to figure out what they want to do. This is going to turn into a fight for positioning to potentially set up for the Fire Giant. Kinkai is going to try to get the aggressive start to it because they've got Thor in the sky, but Thor are going to choose to not go in, going to choose to retreat as LWUB was not forcing the issue. So yeah, it could have been a crazy fight. Sizzles out.
Yeah. Well, I assume LW realized that 4 was not in front of him, so it was probably up in the sky, retreated to their tower, and even though it's a tier 1 tower at 25 minutes, you still don't want to be starting off a fight with your 4 dunking under tower surrounded by 5 enemies. So I respect the disengage call there, but it does mean that LW have retreated further down their lane, and Kinkars are able to take the floor on this Fire Giant.
And we saw that Garrett used Hovering Death to reposition out of solo. So it's going to take a lot for LWUB to get comfortable. They've got to fight their way in. They're going to start off with the Achilles. And Zenico's already down to about a quarter health. Going to be forced to use that shell. And now Kinkais goes for the response. The 3-man knock-up and the 3-man intoxicate leads to a cavalry charge. 2 already dropped for Kinkais. And LWUB has created the opening. They forced the issue. Matt's been talking about it all game, and they finally made it happen. Double kill for Garrett. Baba drops 1 more. We're on the cusp of a deicide, and Kinkais falls apart at the Fire Giant pit, and everyone got kills from it.
What a massive fight. Kinkais, yeah, they got the Fire Giant really low, but decided not to risk it and instead go for the disengage. But unfortunately, they didn't retreat towards their own base. They retreated forward to try and save the Achilles, and that just separated their team out and was just able to they were just put out of position so they were able to get focus on. The Achilles took way too much damage on his own trying to create space. Then, as the enemy retreated, the 4 with Hovering Death back up just in time was able to land and deal with that own. There was a really good 4 wall in there to help Yu Huang. The fight would have been over a lot quicker if that wasn't such a good 4 wall. So I'm going to give points to that, but unfortunately, just too many people died too quickly. And so they won, and they just kept on re-engaging. I really think Forcer just left the Yu Huang for dead. Like, he wouldn't have been able to do much, but still just don't give away your life for a 10% health Yu Huang who does not have Celestial Flight to get away. But yeah,
I agree with that.
Big fight for LW right there. Not enough to fully swing the fight. They do get Fire Giant, they do get the tier 2 towers. Unfortunately, we only get the 1 Unleashed Titan per game, so we are now going to have to go to a Phoenix Siege, which I think is perfectly fine, completely normal. But then it's just a case of how good are the Phoenix Sieges for LW? How good are they on attack? And it's a bit weird. The engage for the LWUB team is not the best. You have a Bacchus jumping in, which is very telegraphed. You have a Guan Yu ulting in, which is very telegraphed. And you have a Thanatos ulting in, which is not that telegraphed, but if he lands and he gets stunned out or CC'd immediately, he is dying within half a second. Yes. So the engage for LWUB is just going to be difficult, I'd say. Unless they start off with a good team fight in the jungle, I don't think we're going to see them have much success when trying to push under this Phoenix.
That's going to be the key. Matt said it. Watch for the Phoenix engage. We're at 31 minutes, and the last time we did a recap of the score, it was way closer than this. The game was busted open from the Fire Giant fight. Now, LWUB just looking to make the most of this Fire Giant and clean up the map, strip every tower that they possibly can, and maybe the jungle along with it, while Kinkais will just look to, like Matt said, they're going to look to regroup, prepare for the defense, where they should have an advantage. They just can't make mistakes until the Phoenix Sieges begin.
I agree with the sort of plan here by LW. They are actively not going for the Phoenixes. They're just clearing out the towers, first of all, use that for this Fire Giant, and then for the next Fire Giant buff, if you don't get too ahead, Kinkais will try and step forward. There is a sneaky sort of gathering right now, but I think LW managed to spot it out, so they're not going to get caught out.
That could have been a disaster quick.
That could have been a disaster quick, but I agree with LW. They're not going for Phoenixes because I think if they get to, they want Kinkais to so face on this Fire Giant, because the only way LW is going to get into this Phoenix is if they've already got a kill before going in. So they need to lure the Kinkais out. So I think just clear the towers, get yourself a healthy lead but not a dramatic one, and then I think just try and lure or get a pick out from these Kinkais.
It sounds simple, but I think you're spot on. It's do the same thing over again, because you know it worked. Pull the fire, take the fight of fire, win the firefight, win the 5v5, go get your fire, claim your prize, win the game. Because it feels like LWUB has an answer for Kinkais at every step of the way. Every team fight since that one team fight where we both were surprised at how well it went for LWUB, everything after that has felt pretty significantly favored towards the blue side. Kinkais is just going to try to respond, and the positioning looks like the fight's about to break out, but who's going to make the first move? So far, the first move has been Zeniko getting poked out. They got to make the right choice here.
Indeed, EFG's on the table. You don't use all your relics and ultimates too early before this sort of momentous objective call here, but they are trying to make some space and force Kinkais out. But yeah, Kinkais, they have a lot of tanks. They're being able to keep up the pressure and just show determination. And so it's keen to see. I think still not long until EFG spawns, now probably within the next 30 seconds. They did increase the time that you now have Fire Giant buff for 4 minutes, and the rebuffs and the buff spawns after 5 minutes. That's a extra minute longer than what it was last patch. So does make these Fire Giants even more useful and makes us sort of wait around after getting it a bit longer. But we do see the Achilles sort of stepping up once again, and I think you recognise, oh, my team is not with me. Let's not do again what happened last team fight where I die alone. Yep. So yeah, I think
they're running into the Baba's Brew a lot, though.
Yeah, unfortunately, but Baba Yaga is gonna have good poke here. Like you can't. You're gonna need to dive on this Baba Yaga as a group, especially with a sort of Typhons and Bancroft's talent. You're gonna need to sort of deal with that. But we do see the massive fight go in. A lot of poke onto Glig, but he gets out the fight.
Thanatos is hovering in the sky looking for Zenico, gonna find the execute onto the Achilles. Now the execute's gone for Kinkais, and LWUB has the opening that they wanted. We talked about initiating back, getting the advantage back. Pink Unicorn gonna try to find that advantage back for Kinkais, but has to go to the side. And while that happened, the support's gone. That's another kill for LWUB. Now they're gonna clean up the mid laner, and Kinkais once again kind of feels like, how could that fight have fallen apart? Garrett barely misses onto Tatri to stop him from backing, and again, just Kinkais can't get a good footing in these fights, and LWUB knows exactly how to take advantage.
LW are doing very good on being like, oh, this person has stepped up, we are going to deal half of your health, and unfortunately they just kept on catching the solo and support out of position. 4 then got caught out, had to go away from the team, and it just... LW are doing very good at forcing the Kinkais to separate, and then they're doing very good at focusing on the individual targets. They are grouping up and they are prioritizing who to deal with. And now you still have your mid and support down. This is a good opportunity for Phoenix, especially with EFT. I hope they are able to get it here.
So far, it's clean, and it's even cleaner when you get a kill behind it. Tatri hits the grayscale, and LWUB has their opening into the throne room. The hovering death to add some spice. It's a double kill in the throne room for Garrett, and LWUB's now on the Titan. It's already down to half health. Kinkais on their last breath, but they don't have any more legs to stand on. LWUB will take game number 1.
Yeah, Gary did not have the early game Thanatos that we were expected, but still performed beautifully, getting those executes, hitting those combos, and was just able to shred down these targets very easily. So well done to him. Just, I think, a very good game there. Very close early on. Both teams know when to do their objective calls, but unfortunately, LW were very good at sort of punishing the positioning mistakes of the Kinkais.
It didn't happen for the longest time. It kind of felt like the game was even, and even Kinkais had the advantage for a while, but there was just that one fight in mid lane where LWUB had something click, and every fight after that, the same things clicked. It just got clickier every time, and it turned into a pretty, I don't want to say easy because it wasn't, but the last 10 minutes of the game felt like a completely different team was going against LWUB.
Yeah, once LW got their pressure, once they were able to sort of get that momentum, they were just able to roll with it. And I think it also sort of harmed the mental. I think it was close. Kinkai's lost the match. I think their mentals took too harsh of a hit, and so they kept on trying to do these dramatic plays. I say dramatic; they were stepping forward, but unfortunately, that stepping forward costed them all of their team fights.
Yeah, yeah, you hit the nail on the head with it. It just wasn't, there wasn't enough cohesion in the team fights. It felt like the advantage that they had from the Thor and the Achilles and the way that they could play around everything just never really truly came to fruition the same way it did for LWUB. I mean, we talked, I remember us both feeling like the initiation was the problem, and all of a sudden Hovering Death was allowed to become the initiation, and with no response that would delete the Thanatos?
It was never their initiation per se. It would always be support or solo has stepped up. Let's back a jump on him, deal with him, get him low. Kinkai starts to separate, then you send the Hovering Death in and cause panic amongst the backline. That was sort of cookie cutter team fight formula that the LWs were going for there, and it worked beautifully. That's what you want. You want your diver jungler to be able to go into the backline when they are not expected. So
the last point sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there.
Let's go.
The last point I want to hit for that I would actually like to hear your perspective on before we head into break for game number 2 is that we talked a lot about Asta the Pasta and Garrett. We did not talk about Apple Toast and Storming Shadows, who both had really great games. The Hachiman we saw getting some solo kills early. The team fight in mid that I referenced that got turned around was mostly in part to Storming Shadows. In that fight, Apple Toast was poked out. I think the backline really showed up here kind of out of nowhere.
I think it is not. I think it is expected that they had that performance. Not to insult their skill, I think they played beautifully, but they had a Hatchi ADC, which has been top pick for quite a while now, and a Baba Yaga mid that has been a very defensible pick for quite a while now. So I think it's more so they got what they got the strong picks, and they were mechanically good enough to be able to utilize and abuse those top picks. So I think just they played well to their draft and they utilized their gods beautifully.
As beautiful as it can get, but there's still more games to come, and there's a lot of questions that need answered from Kinkais, and for LWUB, the story will be how can we recapture the dominance. We'll be right back with game number 2 between these two teams. Hello and welcome back to GSL. We've got Game 2 on tap between LWUB and Kinkais. Game number 1 was a story of LWUB going crazy and Kinkais just on the back foot. My name's Anthony Malum. I'm joined by Chair 2, Matlock, and running production is Ginger Archer. I expect to see a lot of the same chaos in the picks and bans as we saw in game number 1. What about you?
I think we might actually see a lot of similarities, especially with both bans and picks, because both teams were close for the early to mid game. It was just a couple of positioning errors in the late game that costed it for the Kinkais. So I think if they're confident with their team, they might just run it back, which is probably why they've picked to go second pick again. So I would like to see a difference, because of course that's always more fun, but I wouldn't be upset if they end up going the same thing, because it's understandable.
So far, it's deja vu all over again with a lot of these bans. It looks identical to game number 1. And your fear as we were leaving post-game of game number 1 was if Kinkais makes the mistake of letting Hachiman go through to LWUB and they insta-lock it first. So
I don't know. It's weird to call it a mistake, because everyone lets it through. Even like the SPL and SEC, they just let it get through and be first pick. It's probably why they've gone second pick here. They're probably just going to expect LW to take it first pick, so then the Kinkais technically get first pick. Like it's that weird stage where Hatsi is so meta, you have to pick it if it's first.
I will end this fight.
It's literally the same everything down to the Ymir.
No, Ymir I think was banned.
Or was it second phase?
Was second phase. Yeah, maybe it was actually first. Yeah. But yeah, so it is actually running it back. So will we see the Achilles and fall again? Achilles, I think the execute works out well. Unfortunately, he got accosted by the Fall last game, which probably it didn't change that team fight because they did still win it, but it sort of changed how good of an outcome it could have been. It is going to be the Achilles again. We saw on solo last time. Keen to see if we go to jungle this time. And this time, we are going to see a difference, and they're going to be taking the Baba Yaga. So LW do not get such a strong backline in terms of meta picks as we did last game.
I find this interesting. So something from my experience that a lot of analysts tend to look at, especially in lower division games, is sort of the what did the team that lost blame? Because that tends to be what they ban. It's less about, sometimes, especially early in a season, it's less about that strategic value and a lot about, I don't want to deal with that again. Kinkai's picking up the Baba Yaga here. That tells me that Baba Yaga was a big issue for them and how they felt. But from our eyes, I felt like it was the Thanatos, the Bacchus, and the Hachi.
I think it's more...
The Baba was good. I'm not saying it wasn't.
No. I don't disagree with your opinion. I'm just going to put an aside to it. I think it's, in addition to the fact of Baba Yaga, once you get the Prophetic Cloak, you are just difficult to kill. What a good counter that is someone who has, I don't know, inbuilt pen into their kit. Gee, I wonder who has inbuilt pen into their kit. Oh, it's Janus. I do like this pick. It will make dealing with this Baba Yaga better, but unfortunately, Janus, it's going to be difficult escaping this Achilles, especially if your portal is down.
Yeah, that's a good call. I didn't really think about that too much when I first saw it locked in, because I had the same thought as you, the penetration going into the Prophetic Cloak we're bound to see. And I know from last week, I'm still very new to GSL, and I'm picking up on the names I'm recognizing. And Apple Toast was running Janus, and with all respects to my friend, the Apple Toast here, it wasn't the cleanest Janus game I'd ever seen in my life. So I think a big thing here for LWUB from the eyes of a dumb play-by-play is pretty simple. The Janus has to be cleaner than what we were accustomed to last week.
LW is a game up. They can afford to take risks, and when Baba Yaga is taken from the mids, it becomes murky waters of what is good in mid. I'll be honest. When Baba Yaga and Marticles are taken off the table, I don't know what is a good mid pick. It's all very much up in the air. Janus with the inbuilt pen is very much a clear option that is good to take, but I don't know where it ranks with all the other mid picks. So I think it is good to pick it. Whether the skills will be hit, that is a question we're going to hopefully find out. The bans are quite different this time. They're going to ban out that 4, the Hunbats, the Athena, and the Tyr. So, yep, Kinkai's not going to be allowed that 4 again. Hunbats as well, a prominent ult bot that is pretty good at dealing with this Thanatos and Janus. Good to get that ban out the way. Athena, you don't have to deal with that taunt. That would get the Baba Yaga and the Varm pulled out of position quite quickly. And Tyr, once again, you just don't want to have to deal with that displacement, really.
I feel like the Thor was a strong point for Kinkai, so taking that away was a good call. I do want to get your thoughts, just kind of going back in time a little bit with this P's and B so far. The Rama going early. We saw Kinkai's wait. They picked up their ADC last. They gave Tatri the Ishtar. They picked up Rama early, got it done, and squared away. Do you think that's a significant difference? I've always kind of felt like, aside from the ultimate, I feel like they offer very similar things.
I think Varma is good with the pen, but at the moment, I think Varma has better clear than Ishtar. What I think it struggles in is it is a lot more susceptible to a Thanatos gank. Like, Ishtar sure only has the dash, but I would say that, actually no, maybe they're on par. What I'm trying to say is, Thanatos is still a big risk to this ADC, so wards are going to be important. We do see a Bacchus picked up here, going to be running it down again for Asta Pasta. And now we have a Zing Tian, the magical solo, as I assume it's going to be. Probably going to make use of these sort of... Well, I'd hope we see cannons, because that's always a fun item, but I'm just keen to see what item will be built there for the magical solo.
I think this is I really like this team comp because there wasn't a lot we disliked. I do remember you talking in Picks and Bans game 1. You wanted a little more CC from LWUB. They picked it up at the end, but you wanted more. I think with the Giannis and Jingshen, I feel like they've brought a lot of that CC back.
They have, they have very good CC. They have a good balance of group CC with a sort of whirlwind of Rage and Steel, and then the single target CC with the Bacchus knockup and such. What they also do good at is their single. What I think the LWs. I'm going to put it on hold. I see a set.
Yes, this is interesting. I am not very good at analysis. That's not my thing. But the one thing that I have seen a lot of is that characters that do not need items necessarily, the same way that, say, a Kali would, the characters that have the damage built into their kit are in a decent place. Set is somebody I've seen brought up a lot as people debating back and forth in the slums of Reddit on if he's going to be good in this meta. Give me your thoughts and your reaction, because I know it hit you hard. You dropped the other point.
It's going to depend on whether Set is in the jungle or the solo, because that's really going to say the thing. The thing I have with Set, which is just, if you have a bad early, you are screwed over more so than if you were Thanatos. Your whole thing is you have to W key. You are just standing in front of their faces and hitting them. Like, that sounds like what all jungles do, but it's with Set, it's just so much more difficult. You don't have high ability damage. You just have consistent, especially with Kingslayer active. It does seem. Yeah, so I hope it's well, because I do enjoy Set. I think Set is a fun god when you're winning. If you are losing, that Set is costing you team fights. So I'm keen to see how it goes. Like, I'm interested. I'm not against it. I am metaphorically taking out a notepad and keen to see how this does go. Because, like you said, there is discussion whether or not Set would be good this patch.
There's a lot to really consider and to take into mind with that. I think you hit all the big points, and don't worry, I do not like forgetting things, so we'll be wrapping back to this set. Once again, I'm Anthony Mount. I'm joined by Matt Locke. We've got Ginger Archer running us through production. LWUB versus Kinkais. Gonna be an exciting one. Let's do it.
My immediate reaction is I would have hoped we would have seen a blink on the red team for this early, either on the Set or the Achilles. Without those blinks, the early initiation, especially for this Set, I think is going to be quite difficult. Especially when your easy target is this Giannis. It's quite easy to stick to them if they're not near a wall and can portal easily away. But not having that blink is going to make it quite difficult, I'd say.
Yeah, you know, that's a really good call, because it feels like it should have been a requirement almost, but we talked about the CC of LWUB, and I guess that was something that needed to be respected, but it puts you in a less than advantageous position to be the Set.
Yeah, I'm just keen to see how this goes. I hope it does work out well. It's just Set is an enigma. It's hard to pinpoint how it goes with Set. I think he's a fun god. I'm just keen to see it, and we see that blink utilized already, and there's a lot of damage to Baba Yaga.
Baba does get away safely, and a blink down for the Thanatos, but the big thing to notice from it was it did what Matt was talking about. It gave an initiation tool to Garrett, and the response just cannot be there from Kinkais until level 12. The Set will not have that same type of pressure. Sure, you have the spawns, but it's not the same, and as you said a lot in game 1, telegraphed.
Yeah, indeed. We do see a bit of a skirmish now as well around here, but I think it's with the Atlas on board. I don't think the Chaos team is going to be looking. The Kinkais are going to be looking for much fighting around this in this duo side. I think they are just going to try and farm up and get out, but we do see Thanatos rotating in.
And you talked about what Thanatos can do to this duo lane. Thanatos gets here in time and finds the first blood onto Atlas. The Soul Surge will follow an LWUB starting game 1 the same way they ended, or excuse me, starting game 2 the same way they ended game number 1. Looking for more. They're going to get the stun across onto Tatri. The Scythe will hit for some spice on the way out as well. LWUB gets the better of them in lane.
Unfortunately, the ward was not down, so Thanatos was able to walk in. Atlas starts off that fight with a charge in, so there's not an easy escape, and Thanatos was just able to be like, oh, there's a low-level Atlas here. Nom, and just eats him right up. Well, I guess harvests him right up, I guess, with this side. But yeah, so a very good start there for the LWs.
There was, there feels like there's a different vibe around Garrett on this Thanatos. It feels like game 1 was a confidence game on that Thanatos, and now game 2 kind of feels like he's running around with the weight of success on his shoulders. A Boo Buff Invade successful for Kinkais as we're talking about the Thanatos, which will hurt Glig for sure. Xingshen a bit mana hungry, so a bit of a complicated lane, but I don't think it's the end of the world.
I think it does do a lot to Glig's sort of fighting potential in this lane. I think he is going to now have to be on the back foot. And so I think it is a very good play there by Pink Unicorn. Good that he was able to get it off, like he was able to sneak in and get that. So yeah, I think good recognition of the possibility by the set.
A much calmer start. While the kill came a bit earlier, it definitely felt like there were way more skirmishes throughout the early game in game number 1, and both teams taking a much calmer approach to game number 2. I wonder if a bit of that is... LWUB has a very late team this time. They were a bit more... They were very early mid dependent because of the Thanatos combined with the Baba getting that brew. I mean, obviously late game Baba's crazy, but I think Baba's underrated in mid game, especially once you get some power spikes on. This game, it kind of feels like LWUB's going to try to bide their time a little bit and get the Giannis online.
I think they have a good matchup. We didn't see the Thanatos utilized early much last game. Now with First Blood, we are getting to see it. But yeah, Thanatos is good early, Bacchus is good early, but then the Hatsi, Giannis, and Xingqiang get a lot better late. So I think it means that they can... It means blue team should be good across all time of this game. So... yeah, you can see a bit of a jungle skirmish right now. Thanatos caught out of that jungle. Kingslayer does help do a lot of damage. Thanatos was able to get out, and I don't think it's going to look fully indicated. Just get right out. Free space and time is able to delete Baba Yaga off of the map. Even though it does more damage at the further range, Giannis is just like, nah, just eat it at face value.
That was clean, huh?
It was very clean, just recognizing you don't have an escape, you've used your blast off, I should be able to hit this. We would be laughing right now if he ended up missing, because that would have been embarrassing, but no, here we are praising him for just a clean solo kill right there, just helping him.
I think you heard me talking smack and picks and bans. I think that's what it was. I blame myself.
Yeah, it's all good, but we do see a bit of a skirmish now around here.
The washing machine gonna toss Zenico back. Garrett here on the Thanatos looking for Zenico. Has time to do it, but he's getting killed in the meantime. He's getting dropped quick. Now the set gonna look for it. They both split. Glig will get the credit onto Zenico and continue the pressure. There's the blink that set doesn't have in response. Solo in the left lane, but survival in the right lane. Could be another kill in the left lane. The dual lane gonna chase out Atlas. Eagle Eye gonna be available. He has to hit him. He finds it too. It's a double kill for Storming Shadows.
LW getting to a strong start here. We'll go on to start the fight first. A good engage there by the Thanatos to go in. Was able to just juke out of that Achilles execute. That would have turned that fight easily for the Kinkais. And then the dot damage from the Xingqiang was able to finish off the Achilles. Set did a very good job of escaping, but then unfortunately there was a duo fight over in the ADC, and Hatsi was just able to sort of clean up the damage a bit more better, and was able to hit those final snipes at the end, so very fair play to Storming Shadows.
Set gonna look for the gank on to Glig, but Glig spotted it out. Gonna use the washing machine as well, and gonna force the Kingslayer out of Set, but Set can run under tower, but he stayed under tower too long, and the tower helps Glig find a response onto the Pink Unicorn. So now 5-1 favor, 6-1, excuse me, favor of LWUB. You can't really get much better than that early on, especially when the one kill was a return thanks to a tower.
Yeah, I'm a bit iffy about that diving. Good beads by either set to ignore that whirlwind of rage and steel, but I think chasing in and having to tank the damage. Achilles was there with with mystical mail, so it's not as tanky as other sort of physical defense items, but it is still a lot, and probably would be able to get them both on the tower. But I think set afflicts an effect on the person playing him where you're just like, I am running, I'm W keying, I'm not giving up a kill. So
set
yeah.
inflicts an effect. I like that. And now Thanatos looking to inflict an effect of his own with the execute and the up down and finds it. Goodbye to download later, and thanks for Matt for giving me some rhymes to spit out.
Yeah, just a good, like, Atlas being caught up position once again there, and Thanatos having such a much better early lead, having to, I assume, leveling up his one, just getting that extra boost of damage. Just doing wonders, I reckon, right now. But we do see Set once again, but unfortunately, Hatsy just dives under the tower, and there's nothing Set can do about that.
And still has that mounted archery, so very safe if they want to go crazy. And with us at the pasta rotating on over, I don't like the chances for Kinkais if they stay. They feel the same way as they start to get away.
I think he was spotted out by a ward. That's what's doing the wonders in this sort of duo lane right now. Is do you have a ward up? If so, you are able to avoid these, and that's just how it's always been in competitive ranked or even casual play. Buy wards; they will help you.
Yeah, it's as simple as can be. Garrett might be on the easy way out. Gonna get picked up by Zenico. Goodbye to the Thanatos, who was off to a strong start. The washing machine comes out yet again. The two go to the tower. They're gonna get rooted as well, but Atlas was tanking. Lucky for Zenico, but the luck has run out as Appletoast cleans him up on the back end. Bacchus will run into the Atlas, but we've seen this before. I think it's safe to say Atlas is okay.
Good return there by Glig, whirling the Saints, and then recognise that he can get them on the tower for that extra bit of damage. Good free space and time there by the Janus, just being able to help finish off that Achilles, making it a good 1-for-1 trade. They do continue going and force out the own sweet home by the Baba Yaga. Set also now coming in.
Set gonna go aggressive under the tower, see what he can find, but he has to step away. Learned last time the towers do numbers, and in the meanwhile, Garrett cleans up Brett in the back, and Appletoast helps him out and drops Pink Unicorn. The charts are flowing red as the blood is dripping away from Kinkais.
Is that a low health mid stepping up against the when there's a high level? Or sort of starting to be fed Thanatos. Oh, it is. Oh, that's a hovering death. Oh, he's dead now. And yeah, then that just caused Set once again. Set being very aggressive here. Like I don't know why Set. Like I don't know what curse it is when you play Set, but you just have you just feel the need that you have to go towards these towers, and it's just interesting, but.
Taking the 1v2 with the mounted archery and getting away with a kill? Excuse me? Storming?
Yeah,
what's going on over there?
Varma went up into the sky, was not able to hit all the snipes, comes back down. Atlas is there, but unfortunately the body blocks were not, and so the autos were able to thread the needle and hit the target, so good work by them there.
Oh, okay, Garrett just not stopping, diving behind the tier 1 tower for more. 12-2 now for LWUB. This is a rout.
It's strong, but it's still only just under like a 3k lead at the moment. Oh, no, never kill.
The Bacchus adding to the kill total. First one for the support so far this game for LWUB. Getting aggressive in mid, a knock-up on the Baba Yaga, which so far has not had the response that Kinkais was hoping it would bring.
I need to see the build on this Baba Yaga, because last game Appletoast did a heavy second build, and it does seem like Vex is going for the same one, but unfortunately I don't think they've been able to have the farm that Appletoast had last game, so they're not able to complete it quick enough. We do see the Stygian Beacon now spawning. Going to be keen to see, like, the LW have the pressure at the moment across the map, so we'd expect to see them take it, but keen to see if they actually follow through on it.
All right, let's try to find some calmness and reset ourselves. We're heading up in 12 minutes, 13-2 favoring LWUB. 3k gold lead, pretty significant at 12 minutes. So we'll look to see what Kinkais can do to bring that gold lead back in the check, but so far, there's just no options except for Death. Oh, maybe not. Thankfully, had a spawn up, but Hovering Death going to go for the chase. Going to think better of it, however, and head and look for something to land on, but there wasn't quite anything around.
Yeah, I think that was a good call then, not to try and follow through onto that Set. But once again, Set gets caught out with the aggressive portal, is able to get the Sandstorm out of there, but it is going to be a good gold through pickup now for the LWs.
I don't really know what Kinkais can do to get back in this game that you haven't already said, because we talked about what we wanted to see, but it just hasn't been there.
The difference is not that egregious yet. It's still only about just around 4k, which is a lot, but it's not past the point of no returns. I think the kills tell a lot more of a... I think the difference in kills overemphasize the sort of state of the sort of gameplay at the moment. Both teams are fine. Yes, Thanatos is getting a lot of kills, but he's getting a... like, apart from support and ADC, the rest of the people are pretty mid. There is a big difference at the moment in ADC, which is probably where it's going to matter the most once those will start rotating. Nearly about 3 levels at the moment.
All right, we gotta stall. We gotta put a hitch in our own tracks really quick. Looks like we won't have too much time to talk about it. Might have to even wait, as there's a lot of rotations coming out towards duo lane. Spawn comes through. We're gonna look for Storming Shadows. Mounted Archery still available, so no full commit from Kinkais. The wards once again proving to be a strong suit for both sides and useful. Now LWUB getting a bit aggressive, going to follow the lead of Asta the Pasta, who's dashing in to make a play. And look at the rotations from the Giannis and the Thanatos. Kinkais may have made a misplay here. LWUB going to get the portal. Hovering Death comes up. The up-down will find the kill onto the Atlas. And that's not a great start for Kinkais in this dual lane. LWUB will thankfully for Kinkais back away, but all right, what I wanted to ask you, the ADCs are going drastically different builds this game.
Can someone get Tatsu out of the kitchen, please? Who is letting him cook right now? But, like, the early game spike with Asi, I can understand that. Rage? I'm okay, let me try. Rage has not been built on ADCs for a while. The power on the item is not that good. And if you're getting Rage, you are saying, I'm going to be getting kills and assists. I don't think that's been happening this game. So, it could work out. Crit is not that good at the moment, so I don't think it's going to work out, especially against the Hatsi that is going the meta build, which I think is being proved to show that has outlasted the... has followed through from the last patch. So, I'm keen to see how it works out.
We will have to check back in on that periodically. Storming Shadow is going to take the 1v1 to dash forward. Eagle Eye, everything's clean. The Rage did not help out Tatri that time. Storming Shadows gets the solo. On the right side of the map, the fight continues, and it looks bad for Kinkais. Apple Toast will clean up Pink Unicorn, and LWUB's not done yet. The Unstable Vortex will flow through, and you can drop everything you want. Download later. You will not survive. Garrett, LWUB just hanging out behind tier 2s and dropping bodies left and right. Up next, will it be Zenico? A bit too healthy to go crazy. Execute! Aegis is used, and the 3 gets it back away. The portal will come out. So not quite a response from Zenico. Still going to chase out, but I don't think they can chase this endlessly. It's going to be a mistake if they do. Oh, through space and time, clips Zenico on the way, and the portal... The scythe will clean him up. It's a rampage for Garrett. And now with this rotation out from the Hachiman, man, Kinkais just cannot catch a break. 18-2. 16 minutes in, the gold charts are sprinting to the top for LWUB, and they're still not done. Garrett escaping.
He gets out again.
Even when they have an opening, they don't get to drop the Thanatos. There's no break for Kinkais.
No, Kinkais are using these portals aggressively to once again force someone out of space, and then, oh, you've been portaled through, now you've been Bacchus knocked up, now you're getting stunned out by the Bacchus, now the Thanatos is just dogpiling onto you. They are just able to single target prioritize and just shred down whatever's target in front of them, and they are just copy and pasting that tactic all over. So yeah, it's interesting at the moment.
I did not expect this. Game 1, it really, the tides didn't shift until I think it was 23 to 25 minutes.
Game 1, Garrett could not get a purchase on the Thanatos early. He got outwarded early, and so was not able to get these party ganks. He's been able to do that now, and that is showing. Janus also having a spectacular game at the moment, 4-0-5, is able to hit these through space and times, hitting these abilities, and is utilizing these portals perfectly, not from a defensive standpoint, but actually using them aggressively to, as I said earlier, force people out of position. City Beacon about to open. I believe this is going to be the second one. Blue team did get the first one, so if they're able to get all 3, that's going to be massive for them, and even add more to the sort of steamroll. Goal difference still only about now getting towards 5. So yeah, getting towards 5k difference. It's still not terrible. Most of the difference is at the moment just in support and ADC. So I think it's still completely possible for the Kinkais to come back. I think they just need to. They either need to deal with Thanatos or with Janus and deal with it quickly. They can't go in one by one.
And if they do that, you're still leaving the door open for the Hachiman, which we talked about in Game 1 was something that kind of went undervalued for LWUB and was nasty the whole time. It just, the Janus has showed up, and it almost feels like an oddly good thing for LWUB that Kinkais took away that Baba Yaga, which is an odd thing to say.
Yeah, we're also still not seeing a prophetic cloak on this Baba Yaga, which I think is not costing them the game, but I think they'd be able to do a lot better if they weren't, because with the prophetic cloak they wouldn't be dying so quickly to the Thanatos, and so maybe getting that one ability off a bit quicker. The set doing what they can, doing a lot of damage. The Kingslayer, when you are allowed to just W key and hit your target, will do a lot of damage. But it's just tricky at the moment, especially because the anti-heal state, they only have the Bull's Beat Stick, and that's on the set at the moment, so it's quite easy for Thanatos to heal up again, even if he does get low. So I assume that we're going to be seeing a Divine Ruin on this Baba Yaga. Achilles uses the ultimate defensively this time to get out. 3 saves in time. Won't find target. They are thanking God for that.
Oh, there's so much damage coming out across. Between what the ADC is doing right now, Appletoast, Kinkais, all they can do, it feels like, is retreat. The number one thing they have going for them right now is Garrett and Appletoast don't have ultimate up. That's the closest thing Kinkais has to relief right now. It's a bad feeling.
It's oh god, Achilles just stepped up. I wonder what's going to happen. Oh look, it's been a portal. Jump in, just get shred down. It's almost like that's happened 50 times so far this match.
Will the hovering death change it? We tried to wait out the Rama, but couldn't fully wait him out.
It.
Everything missed to the side, and a lot of taking for this tower. Could be the end of Asta the Pasta. The whirlwind didn't bring anybody in, but the big thing too, Asta actually lived despite taking that tower for 47 years. So big for the Bacchus, big for LWUB, 20-2, as big of a lead as you can get. And again, look at the charts. They're trying to break off the screen.
They've doubled their kills, which is good. It's, to be fair, there is an 18 kill difference, and the gold difference is still not that bad. It's still only about 5k. It is growing, but only incrementally. It's not terrible. FG here will probably make it worse, not gonna lie, but we'll have to see. Set is choosing to split plus get those tier 2 towers down. Yeah, I mean, I respect Kinkai's showing face here, but yeah, unfortunately, I'm not gonna get it.
They showed face, but they couldn't quite get the steal off. But now the big thing is the escape, and look at the Atlas. Look at how little he's able to escape. The Scythe just misses, but the hovering death will follow, and Atlas will drop to the Thanatos, and LWUB will continue their reign of terror through the mid lane and see if they can pick anybody else off. Game 1, we saw them clean up the towers with their first CFG. Do you expect to see more of the same?
Yeah, because once again, the blue team in this year's they do have blinks this time, so I think it is going to be better for them. Axie as well being okay. Depending on how much defense the Kinkais show up, it should be pretty easy for the LWs to get these Phoenixes. I still think they are just going to wait out, because I also think they want to deal with the Unleashed Titan, because they can probably win off of that push.
Lincoln, and Zenico steals the Oni Fury out from underneath them with the belly flop to follow. The portal on the landing. The whirlwind after. Does anybody else have anything they want to use on Zenico?
Yeah.
Storming Shadows gets the rampage. Zenico gets the seal, but man, did he pay for it.
Zenico is regretting not getting beads right now. I agree with the blink. I think a beads would have been better against the L-dubs rather than a teleportation set. Yeah, so I think he's really regretting not getting beads right now. I think if he had beads, the L-dubs would have at least 2, maybe 3 less kills.
That is a big price to pay for choosing to be a bit picky with the relic situation. The towers are starting to drop, as we discussed. We did see a skirmish between Garrett and Pink Unicorn. Garrett certainly did not get the better, but he was able to survive, which that was the big thing to take away from it, because that Thanatos still has Fire Giant. The bounty still doesn't matter. And okay, last week Apple Toast did the same thing, and I bothered Lucky for his take on it. The Polynomicon on Giannis.
I think it's good. I like. It's good when you want to deal with these Phoenixes quickly, which is I think is what they want to do. Their team fight at the moment, the LWs, is we catch someone out and we kill them within a second. Like, they use all their abilities to kill that person. So you want to be able to get a Phoenix in as quickly time as possible, because you're not going to be able to do that again for like another 5 seconds. So I think the Polynomicon does work out well here in the purpose of just being able to just deal with that Phoenix a bit more quickly. So, yeah, I'm fine with it.
All right. You know what? I respect it. You made me a believer, and Toast is certainly cooking something up this game. I will eat my words from picks and bans. The Giannis has been much cleaner this week.
This might be a bit of a mean bet, but I'm curious. Will Raids get a stack by the end of this game?
Ooh.
Do you think we will see a stack on this item?
That's a really good. I don't hate it at the. I hate it now.
Kill. At least
I hate
if
it
he
now.
gets an assist, he gets it.
I didn't hate it at the start, especially on Rama, because you can have the snipes, you can be a part of kills you don't have a right to be. Thanatos earning the right of this fight, not getting the better of the set so far, so he has to retreat again. We saw this in solo before, but Garrett and Pink Unicorn will survive. I would have liked the rage if he had maybe gotten some more, but at this point it does feel like it's just worthless as an item.
This is probably their first comp game of the season. Being experimental with builds, I am all for it. We can just now learn that this recipe should not be used again. Like, I respect testing it out. Unfortunately, I think testing it out against a Hachi in a non-crit meta, you are risking a lot, but I respect for doing it. But once again, Unleashed Titan's about to go out, and this could very well be a win for the L-dubs here. Like, they have quite a strong lead.
Yeah, I like grouping up with it here.
Yeah, and also the support difference in levels is a lot here. Atlas has not had a good time. ONA, unfortunately, they've been the repetitive target of getting caught out and killed in an instant. I do feel very sorry for them. I understand that pain. Meanwhile, Set here, understanding that in a team fight, he's probably going to get shut down quite quickly. So let's force some people to come over to Duo side while the Titan is pushing right, because the Kinkais are probably aware they don't do well on the 5v5 in this Titan push. So they're probably going to try and be a bit more cunning and try and force the L-dubs to split.
We talked about the split in game 1 as well. We talked about the potential of maybe sending your ADC somewhere else. It turned into the 5v5, and I think what surprised both teams was how fast their Titans died when that happened, and they all had to go their separate ways. This time, I think LWUB just has such a crazy advantage. I think they just take the fight before the Titan even gets there, and then use the Titan as more of a siege hammer than anything else.
LDubs have all the Stygian beacons, so their Titan will do an extra 15% damage, meanwhile the Chaos Titan won't do any additional damage. So, yeah, as we can see, that Chaos Titan is dead. Basically no problem. It's just how defensive can they be around their own Titan when pushing up. I think they have a good opportunity to, especially because Set before was able to at least do some poke damage last time. Set does have the skewer, can do some poke, but the skewer is also your big thing during your Kingslayer rush. If that is not up, you're basically saying, okay, I'm fine sitting out. But it doesn't seem like they are going to push aggressively with their Titan. They're just going to let it hold up the Kinkais.
I expected to see more of a fight there, but it looks like LWUB's going to force the Fire Giant and see if Kinkais will have the courage to respond. I don't expect it.
I don't think they get here in time, even if they wanted to. That's just.
The set has already walked to mid. The Rama snipes aren't in time. Everything is just going wrong
it's
right now.
It's a good attempt by the Rama snipes. Oh god. Oh, good Aegis. Good Aegis there by Rama. That would have been potentially the end of the game if it does not end up continuing on.
Everything is adding up, and it's exactly what you talked about. That all these little things will really start to become a massive problem. And man, LWUB just being clean with it. And now Glig taking a lot of poke, but causing chaos. And look at the health bars
He's got a kill!
of Kinkais in the meantime. Hey, it's a rage stack! Garrett, unstoppable in the meantime. We'll see if the rage stack can create a huge difference for the siege defense. I don't like the odds too much, but hey, at least there's one for the road.
It's also a good kill and priority target. Glig being down shuts down their main group CC, so their main initiation and sort of separation in their positioning is now gone. So this Phoenix defense, Phoenix attack has definitely gotten a lot more difficult. So it's a very important pickup. Like, he's got a kill, but it is probably one of the most influential kills of this game. So very important that Kinkais were able to get that there.
So looking across builds, you were looking for a prophetic. I think it was 12 minutes ago.
I was expecting it. It's still not been
It's not
built.
there.
To be fair, they needed the anti-heal still with a Thanatos and the Xingtian HP5, so the Divine Moon was needed. Fine. If the Baba Yaga goes Polynomicon here, I'm confused. Because like I said, Polynomicon is good on the Phoenix attacks. I don't think Kinkais are going to be attacking a Phoenix for potentially another 10 minutes. Meanwhile, what I do know is going to happen is that Baba Yaga is going to get dove on. So, I would have liked to have seen a Prophetic Cloak, especially because even though you do have the Baba Yaga passive, it's still going to take a few minutes to stack up. And it's do you think you're going to be able to last out? Do you think the game is going to last long enough for you to stack it up if it is gotten 6th?
We'll see as LWUB goes aggressive into the Phoenix. They're going to look to clean up the first one and take steps out. They do it. They take some fair poke in the process, but Kinkais, like you said, all they can do is try to play base defense. I will say, while it's a minimal chance, if L1 manages to lose this game, that would be a disaster. Morale's gone.
This is LWUB's game to lose. Like the chance of Kinkai's winning is solely dependent on LWUB's screwing over themselves. To be fair, they have like a 20 kill lead, and they've only been able to get one Phoenix. They've only been able to get like the odd kill now, and it's all because they got very good early game pressure. They were able to get the kills. But unfortunately, those have not meant a lot. And as we transition into the late game, like, if I tell you, Team A got Fire Giant and got left side Phoenix, and that was what they got, that wouldn't inform you that that team also has a 20 kill lead. So, I think it's still bad for the Kinkais that they've lost to Phoenix, but having only lost a single Phoenix and only lost like a couple people during a Fire Giant push when their enemy opponents had such a massive kill lead, I think it's big respect and so that they can defend well here, and they should very much. LW should still be careful because they can be punished.
Yeah, that's a fair point, and they're worth a lot of gold. That's something we haven't talked about too much. I mentioned it, I think, passing about Garrett and all the survivals, but the bounties out right now, they're not enough to get Kinkais back in the game, but it could get them pretty close.
Yeah, Janus, Thanatos, and Hatsuman are definitely either of those. Is like we're already at the point where XP is not going to matter unless you'll download later. He's going to appreciate getting that XP and gold. But apart from that, like, the gold bounty is going to do a lot. And now that Spirit Rogue has finished for Atlas, as we can see there, he's still taking a lot of damage, but that 15% damage mitigation from the Spirit Rogue passive is probably going to be stopping him from going into double-digit deaths quickly.
That's you don't want to hit double-digit deaths.
Achilles is on his own, but he's not going to get dove on the point. I think that's
not the first time we've seen it.
No, not the first time, but good patience by LWUB to not sort of collapse and put themselves out of position. They like where they're at. They want to sort of keep Kinkai's where they are. So good for them. And
it's time for EFG. We're at 23-3, and You know, I was gonna give us a nice little recap as we get into EFG, but depending on if this fight gets aggressed on, I do want to dig into the Soul Leader.
He needs those stacks. He needs those Soul Eater stacks.
Yeah, EFG is getting pulled. EFG is almost dropped.
That's doing a lot of
Hovering death in the air. Gonna stun two. Can he find the kills off of it? He found one. Pink Unicorn did get one in the back in the meantime, but Garrett is cleaning house. It's a double kill and divine for the Thanatos.
Oh, come on.
The Kingslayer, but no, with the help of his support. Stormy Chow survives. It's another stack on Rage. You can't stop the stacks. But I don't know how long Tatri can survive. Gonna use the Aegis. Has to aim through. Garrett's got a third in the meanwhile.
Is on the way.
He's gonna go around and find a fourth. It's a delayed Quadra and a deicide for LWUB. All they gotta do now is walk at the Titan.
They do the Phoenix is not up. They are low. I don't think Titan's gonna be enough to kill them. Do they have minions here? No. I do think they can win. 10 seconds up until the mid support. It's gonna be close.
That split might hurt a little bit. They gotta focus up now. I don't like that they went in without everybody first. It's down to half. Respawn out from Atlas. Titans at half. Gonna get for the pull, but it's gonna be denied by the belly flop. Titans drop into a quarter, hovering death in response, and LWUB gonna have to retreat. So maybe we called it a little too soon. Just not quite enough. I think that little second of delay is the difference, maybe not of the end, but they could have gotten the Titan down to 25 to maybe even 10% if they didn't hesitate.
If they had minions there, then that would have
for sure.
That would have been a win. But because they didn't have minions, they had to dedicate time to the Phoenix respawn. They couldn't. They had to take damage from the Titan. So good defense there by Atlas and Baba Yaga. I'm sure they were clenching hard, doing their best to not go his way. And once again, LWs, they have this kill lead, but they cannot push it through to an end. And so Fire Giant, EFG, to be exact, only on 3 now. It is 3 people to have. It's still 3 people, still a threat, but it's not where LWUB would want to be.
The Thanatos might be the biggest problem of the people who have it. Is the biggest problem of the people who have it. The Thanatos has been a nightmare for Kinkais to deal with through space and time to start the fight, and the damage is going great, and Apple Toast has won. The mid laner's gone, and it's a double kill. Support followed. The execute, triple kill for Apple Toast, and Kinkais was just too delayed getting it together, and now LWUB's running it down again, and this time I don't know what will stop them. Garrett gonna look to clean up. Zenico will find it with the help of Asta the Pasta.
Oh, no.
Kingslayer's in the left lane trying to slow things out. He'll find it, and he's going to drop Apple Toast, but he's got to get to Titan. He's not going to get there in time. LWUB going to take the set 2-0.
I mean, it wasn't as clean as LWUB wanted. Big respect for Kinkais for holding out as far as they did. So it was a 2-0, but it was not a clean, easy 2-0 by any means for LWUB. The first game was close for most of it, and ended up 1-2 team fights went the LWUB's way. This game, LWUB did get the early game pressure. They definitely won because of it, but Kinkais offered a stalwart defense and were just able to hold off for as long as they could.
I agree completely. LWUB definitely was showing signs of mistake, but I think the lead, maybe not in gold, definitely not in gold, but the lead in kills and the items that were online, and some of the choices for the builds as well, I think maybe the big spots to look at and to blame for Kinkais. But LWUB, that's not to take away from pure dominance at certain and most parts of this game, especially out of Garrett on the Thanatos, who was undeniable.
Garrett just had a lot of single target damage, and what the cookie cutter formula that LWUBs followed was, if support or solo steps up, we portal them out CC and we knock them up, we stun them, and they are dead because Thanatos and Hatsi have been hitting them for the last 2 seconds. That was their formula. Unfortunately, Download Data felt that a lot, 0-10, and I don't think that's fully his fault. I think he tried to push forward, get these sort of initiations, but was just kept on getting caught out by the portal. So I think good attempt there by him. I would have loved to have seen a prophetic cloak on this Baba Yaga, but not to hark on Tatri. The build, he cooked, he experimented, but unfortunately, I think we were all hoping that the builds and the meta gods would be different this patch. And I think what this set have shown
For sure
has been, no, you just still go Hatchy and still go the old build. You just still do that.
Yeah,
so
it's kind of hard to argue that. And I agree. I like the experimentation, and I think that I think that if you're going to do that experimentation, like you said this a million times, it's the new season. You're early in the GSL season. There's plenty of logic. It wasn't like it was a trolling choice. It didn't work out. The fact it didn't work out on such a scale isn't solely due to Tatri. It's just unluckiness across the board for Kinkais.
Yeah, indeed. And once again, the set pickup. Yeah, also good. Yeah, Garrett had a much better early game. Was able to get these ganks before wards were able to be put up and establish a dominance, so wards could not be put up effectively. And Set, he did do a lot of damage. He did get he did do just under 20k, which was a fair bit. It's just the fact of Set is still that thing of, you are having to dive on the towers. You are going to have to trade, and it's just risky, especially when the Thanatos can heal so quickly, and when. Yeah, it's just a tricky pick.
One last thing we can touch on. We talked about Garrett. We talked about Appletoast a lot through the game. Again, going back to the Hachiman. It didn't.
Yep,
it's so sneaky. It was crazy,
it's just good.
And Hachiman's good, but there is something to be said for the moments that we saw of Storming Shadows. There was a 1v2 that stood out. There was survival late in the game. We saw very smart use of mounted archery. There was a lot of clean there, and I think that goes a long way to show that it may be a bit of a underrated and emerging ADC.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Even though I'm saying it's a meta pick, so this can be expected, Storming Shadows still has the good mechanical skill to pull it off. He's been doing, like you said, he did a 1v2. It's been really good for him. So I think. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this does end up playing out with him, especially, and he may end up being a top ADC of this league, and LWUB, I think, get a 3-0 now for their standings, top of the board. Still the first set for lower division this week, so keen to see what other teams will join them for that top of the board position. Kinkais unfortunately get that 1-2. I think they do have a lot of potential. They do show a lot of good skill, especially since they held out.
Oh, for sure.
They have fought to the bitter end every game I've seen them.
Yeah, 100%. I think you said it best. Kinkais has a lot to look forward to, and for the time being, LWUB gets to hang out comfortably at the top of the standings. Thank you for joining us today on GSL. Once again, I was Anthony Malum. I was joined by Matt Locke, giving me some great analysis throughout it, carrying us through the new season, and running production was the Ginger Archer. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on GSL.
Bye.